Voices from the forest. Real stories, wild and true. Wild and true. We're in it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. From the heart of Belize to you.
Hey, listeners, home and abroad. Welcome to this segment of Voices from the Forest, where we are joined in studio by our very own Executive Director. Mr. Heron Moreno, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nats. Thanks very much for having me. It's really nice to be here with you today.
That's great, Mr. Heron. We're really happy to have you on today's segment of Voices from the Forest, where you will be sharing with us a little bit about Shipstern, a little bit about the Northeastern Biological Corridor, and really and truly just how the Corozal Sustainable Future Initiative came about to be. I know a lot of times people talk about Shipstern and they haven't been able to connect Shipstern to the Northeastern Biological Corridor. So today, really and truly, we want to ask you, how is Shipstern and the Northeastern Biological Corridor related? How are they related?
Well, that's a really good question. That's to put things into context, because they're two different places in reality, right? They share the same landscape, they share the same geographical area, but we like to look at Shipstern as our HQ. It's kind of like where our lifeline is, right? And so it's really where everything started, all the way back in the 80s. So it goes a long way. The Northeastern Biological Corridor is really two things. One, it's an expansion of what Shipstern is, but it's also a whole different reconfiguration in terms of how our conservation approach is designed. So to kind of clear it up a little bit, so Shipstern is the original Shipstern Nature Reserve, which was established in the 80s, and then that went through different forms of evolution all the way to right now what it is, and that is the most northern point of where we are, which is about 3 miles from Sarteneja. And it started off as a butterfly garden, as a butterfly farm back in the 80s. And that's why a lot of people know it as the Butterfly Reserve, or as the people in Sarteneja would call it, La Mariposa, right? And so that's where it started. But it's a very holy place for us as such, because it's kind of like where the whole idea of private protected areas came about. It's where this whole different idea of conservation started. And so that place remained like that up until 2010, until we kind of started to do other things, and we wanted to kind of rebrand to reflect the other initiatives we were doing and how we were involved in conservation. And so we named the organization CSFI, but also because we were expanding our conservation reach to an area which is Freshwater Creek and Honeycamp. And a lot of people are familiar with Freshwater Creek and Honeycamp. And over the years, we made a direct geographical connect between Shipstern to Freshwater Creek. And so that entire area that now connects Shipstern to Freshwater Creek is now classified legally and officially as the Northeastern Biological Corridor. So when we talk about Shipstern and Biological Corridor, we talk about geography, we talk about different categories of protections, but we also talk about history and the evolution of CSFI.
That's really interesting, Sir Heron. So if you would have to explain to our audience in your own words, what is the biological corridor itself, or what does it mean to you?
Wow, that you took me back to the 90s. So it shows that we've been around for a while, right? No, actually, the biological corridor wasn't really our brainchild as such. It wasn't something that we came about with. We actually just, what we did was kind of revived an initiative that started back in the 90s. In the middle 90s to around the late 90s, there was actually, the conservation society was looking at how do we make protected areas more sustainable? How do we make it more viable in the long term? And so there was a movement in the 90s that was looking at connectivity. At that time, connectivity was very specific to connected protected areas because there was a lot of gaps, and there still are some gaps right now, and not every country in the region enjoys that level of protection the way Belize has. So in the 90s, there was a project that came about that was called the Mesoamerican Biological Corridors Project, and that gave way to a lot of the corridor initiatives that we're seeing today. But there were areas that were identified that were very, very integral if we wanted to look at resilience at system level. And so the Northeastern Biological Corridor was one that was identified and was clearly mapped out since the 90s. So when we started to do our work and started to move into Freshwater Creek, well, obviously the next obvious follow-up was connectivity, because as I always tell everyone, we started at Shipstone with an area which was basically an island, and then we got Freshwater Creek and Honey Camp, and so we had 2 islands, and then we went for the corridor and the connection parts with all of the partners, and there was a lot of people involved. And we connected Shipstone to Freshwater Creek, but guess what? We ended up back again at another island, just a bigger island, right? So that was the idea of the corridor. So the idea was just to connect, but it started way back in the 90s as part of a much larger project. And so what we did was just felt responsible. And our outlook was always to align ourselves with what was important at a national level and what more important than that connecting areas that had gaps in between. So that's really how it came about.
That's excellent. So you have a lot of experience when it comes to conservation, and I think you were around since the 90s, you said, when Shipstone commenced.
Don't say that too loud.
So did you ever envision that one day Shipstone would grow into what it is today, or beyond only Shipstone?
And that's put me in a trouble. They asked me that question, but to be honest, no, I didn't. And so, yes, I've been around since the early 90s, as a matter of fact, right? I started off in 1994 in conservation. So I've been around a few conservation organizations since then. I've had the privilege of working throughout the entire country and doing quite a bit when it comes to conservation work. So I am in a lot of ways honored and really humbled by the fact that I've been able to be part of several little initiatives. But so my journey with Shipstone, which is now CSFI, started in 2007, almost 20 years ago. And I not lie you. When we first started off, and I first started off back then, I think what it was back then resembled, very little of what it is today. And I don't think any of us thought that we would have been able to do as much as we've been able to do, and that we have had the privilege to really contribute to conservation at this level, right? But no, to answer your question, no, I never thought that would have happened. And in a lot of ways, I know it's a fruit of everyone's hard work, including you guys and everybody that is here. But yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yes, that's right. So CSFI then, if we want to talk about CSFI itself, the organization as it is today, and why I keep mentioning it, it's because most of our audiences, like I said, they refer to us as only Shipstone, but we want to make it, we want to let them know then that yes, it started off as Shipstone, but over the years it has evolved. We have grown. They can expect so much more from us than only Shipstone. So I really and truly would like the audience to understand, that connection between Shipstone, that connection between the Northeastern Biological Corridor, how the entire Northeastern Protected Landscape is what falls under CSFI itself.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, our name Shipstone came from a very general area. So if we're looking at the way the country was historically mapped out, there are certain areas all over the country that have certain names. Like, for instance, if we look at Freshwater Creek, there was a reserve that was Freshwater Creek, which is now part of the biological corridor, but that entire area was Freshwater Creek bulkhead, right? Just like that entire area where we are including including Sarteneja, those areas, all the Shipstern area. As a matter of fact, there was an old village, from what I understand, that was destroyed back in the 50s during Hurricane Janet. That was the original Shipstern village, which is now part of the protected area, which is Shipstern, right? And so Shipstern as a name itself is very dear to us because it really represents history. It represents our origins as an organization, but I think more so, I think it's kind of represents where our vision was established by our, I call them our conservation forefathers, and so it is. But it has evolved, right? And it's really interesting if you think about it, because who would have imagined? Who would have imagined that a small organization with a very few or limited number of people within that organization would have been able to really work and try to, have that ripple effect throughout the country. So yes, as much as it's important to understand that there's a difference between what is like CSFI and what is Shipstern, I think it's really nice that we can embrace both of them. But I'll tell you a funny story why we actually had to rebrand from Shipstern, and it's because, again, our conservation forefathers, the name of the area, or the area that we manage, is Shipstern Nature Reserve. And then in creating the NGO and setting in terms the legal governance paperwork or whatever you call that, decided to name the organization Shipstern Nature Reserve. So whenever they asked, okay, who do you work with? We used to say, well, we work for Shipstern Nature Reserve. And where do you work? Well, I work at Shipstern Nature Reserve. So it kind of became a little bit, weird doing that. And as we started to grow, we wanted to really capture the scope of our work, and we felt that our work had to go beyond just Shipstern itself, and it should have looked district level. But it's clear that we didn't envision big enough. but we're glad that we could have done that. Yeah.
So over the years, all of this transition from Shipstern to now CSFI, what are some of the challenges that you have faced?
I think like every organization, there's a lot of challenges, and I think for us the greatest challenge, you're part of our family here as well, and I think one of our greatest challenges has been, how do you take ideas and how do you take that vision that you have as an organization, and how do you put that into action, right? I think all of us can dream and all of us can kind of see beyond where we are, but how do you really take that and how do you really include that into something that is tangible, that you can see? I think for us that's kind of been like the greatest challenge. Obviously, there's a old cliche challenges, as you don't have resources, you don't have that, but I think we've tried over the years to look at those as opportunities more than challenges, although they are very real challenges. I think we have looked at them more as, okay, what are the things that we need to move beyond? But it's been more about that. Also, it's about the behavioral change and that cultural mindset, because we come from a culture, particularly where we are. You know this very well. You're a daughter of Corozal, and so you know that there's a kind of disconnect, especially with us in the north, right? The Norteños, there's a disconnect with conservation. It's something that it's not easy for us. We weren't brought up that way, and the Norteños are people that are very hard workers, very proud, hard-working people, but we also depend on the natural resources a lot. That's where the fishermen the fishers come from. That's where some of the industries like sugarcane farming come from, cattle, our Mennonite neighbors. So that's where we come from. So the challenge is, how do you start to mold that, so that you're not seen as anti-development or anti-agriculture or food security or whatever you want to call it, but more so in terms of how do you balance it. I think that really, if I have to say what has been the greatest challenge, I think that has been that challenge. How do you then start to connect with people as an organization that we are? how do we connect with people where conservation isn't traditionally seen as good? I think that's really been the hardest challenge.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I know we still, as an organization, conservation organization, we still face a lot of challenges every day when we are out in the field, especially our team of staff that's out and based in the field, right? But I mean, through all of this, can you tell us, Mr. Heron, what has kept you motivated to continue doing this over 20 years plus?
A lot of things, and I don't want to sound like Moses from the Bible and said that because I wanted to do good work and righteous. No, it's not that. I've always wanted to play a role that was much bigger than myself. That's one. And I've always wanted to contribute to something more. Like I said, I think the benefit or what I drew from all the years doing this work was always that things could have been done different. I think we made a lot of mistakes as when I was in other places. I personally wished that I had a chance to do things differently. So it's not really until you've made mistakes that you realize that you had a chance to do things differently. And so that has always been that motivation, that this is that chance for me now. That's one. And secondly, it's because I've been so blessed to work with amazing people, like you and all the guys at CSFI, but not only the guys at CSFI and the team, but also everyone that supports us. We have amazing friends all over the world. We have people that have supported us with this initiative, making this podcast possible, this program possible. And so when you have an entire society, we could call that, because we formed our own society. When you have an entire society rooting for you and encouraging you and motivate you, it really gives you that energy and that, as we say here in the North, Ghana's to continue to do this regardless of how difficult it may be. So I think it's a lot of things, and I think that are some of the things. And so it's really a blessing. So I shouldn't complain. I should just do the best I can. Mm-hmm.
And listening to you right now, you mentioned something very important, which is our friends. How has working with different partners helped in conservation work here in Belize?
It's what we are. We proudly proclaim that we are a product of collaboration. And we stick by that. That's what we are. We have amazing friends. We have our friends in Europe. As most people know, our main partners are European zoos, and so we have a lot to thank. We work very, very closely with our Swiss partners, Papilorama, and we also work with Burgers as well. And so we have amazing friends, but I think they also have a very good understanding of what real conservation is, and that's why it's been such a pleasure working with them, because they understand that conservation is just not the old cliche, fresh air and for the future generations. It's much more than that. It's about understanding the complex issues, the underlying issues, those social issues that make this work, make it difficult, but at the same time interesting. So no, our friends give us what we need to be able to work, and by that I mean the support they give us, the encouragement, ideas, even when things are done, they're there to work with us. So I think our friends and our partners are amazing, and so there's a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in this segment we really want to give a special thanks and appreciation to our partners who have assisted us in putting together this platform, this podcast, which we have been trying to get up and running for a while now. So a huge thanks and special recognition to our partners from Direct Nature Aid.
Yes, definitely. I mean, this, as you know, Nats, this is something we've been trying to do for a long time. And it was not only so much about just, the equipment and the resources to get this off the ground, but it was also about the confidence that we needed to do this. And I think by them saying, you know what, yeah, just go ahead, we're here to work with you. I mean, that's a big plus. It's more about the confidence that they have injected into our work. And so it's really nice. And we have people that we work very closely with as part of Direct Nature Aid, Constance and Sven. I mean, I hope they're watching this. We're really grateful for everything that you do. But yeah, it's friends like them that makes things possible, and when you have that, then it's only fair that you pass it forward, you pay it forward, as they say.
Yes, definitely. So starting to close off now, what would be something that you would like to share with our audience? Can you tell us a little bit about what gives you hope to continue doing what you're doing?
Well, this gives us a lot of hope. I think, we're very excited about what we're doing here. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have some amazing programs lined up. But if I have to be very specific, I think you guys in your program run an amazing program when it comes to the Cubs, the Jaguar Club, which is a group of children that have been involved over the years with us and have really taking it upon themselves to move this work forward. And I think it's the way it's been designed. So seeing them and interacting with them and having the chance to witness what you guys are doing and how it's working, I think that's very encouraging and it's very hopeful. But not only that, I think the team that we have, they go in every day and they put in the work, and our team never complains. Always looking for other ways how to move the work forward and to have a greater impact. I think that's hopeful, and there's a lot of work to do, and that in itself gives us a lot of hope, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yes. So I think our listeners and viewers had a very informative session. And now to get to know you a little bit better, we'd like to do a little fun segment here with the executive director. So Mr. Heron, could you tell us 2 truths and 1 myth about yourself?
Myself, my goodness. 2 truths. Well, I usually cry to sleep every night. That's a truth. Well, that's a myth, actually. No. I think the truth is I've worked for quite a bit of organizations in Belize. And so one truth is I've had the privilege of working with some amazing people that hold some really good positions or have held good positions in some of those organizations. So I've worked at the zoo, I've worked at the Belize Audubon Society, I've worked at PACT. So I've had that. So that's one truth. I think another truth is I really love what I do. I really enjoy this work. And I don't know if I can do anything else. So that's a harsh truth to have to deal with. And a myth, I think, I'm not sure if there's any particular myth. I think people view us, I think it's not really about me, but about the organization as just being this hardcore anti-development type of organization. I think that's a myth. I think we understand what sustainability is, what sustainable development is, and I think that's the end goal for us. That's our outlook, and so that's a myth. And I think that's something that needs to be mentioned. No, but it may be boring, but that's the best I can do.
Well, Mr. Heron, thank you so much for joining us in this segment of Voices from the Forest.
Thank you.
I'd like to encourage our listeners and viewers to please send in your questions so that we can ask them to our special invited guests on our next segment of Voices from the Forest. If you missed this segment, you can catch us on our Facebook page, Corozal Sustainable Future Initiative, where we will share the link to the full episode on our YouTube page, which is CSFI Belize. So until next time, listeners and viewers, we're in it. Let's talk about it.
Thank you so much.
Voices from the forest, real stories.
Voices from the Forest was brought to you by the Corozal Sustainable Future Initiative and the Direct Nature Aid.